if you study ancient Egypt enough, you'll find that there's a lot of clashing between the pharaoh and the priests. Akhenaten. See, you know a lot. So the exact same thing is happening in the Olmec realm, and I haven't seen, and maybe someone else has noticed this, and I just haven't read it. But I think I might be one of the only people. Now, Dr. Barnhart, my mentor, just came out with an Olmec lecture series in the Great Courses, and I haven't had a conversation at length with him about it, so I need to go watch this. But I think that it's obvious there's a feud between the Olmec kings, the dynastic family, and these shamans, because you see renovations of monuments in the Olmec world. You can see where a head was turned into an altar. Like that altar that we saw, that was to exalt I call them like were-jaguar shamans. That was to exalt a shaman. It was probably something that the shaman might sit on top of, because we have cave paintings of Olmec people sitting on top of altars, like where they have one leg underneath them and one leg hanging off, talking about something. But that wasn't necessarily a king. It was probably a shaman. So what I just showed you with the baby coming out, altar 5, that's where I think a shaman would sit on top and speak to his, speak to the other priests or speak to regular people of the civilization. I mean, we just don't know.
And the art is an indication of who I am.
Yeah, exactly.
It's clear to the people, like, hey, I'm speaking to you now as the shaman.
Yeah.
You can see my jaguar teeth.
Yeah.
And this image, because many of the people I imagine are not literate, perhaps, or maybe they are, but I imagine having art is going to be the fastest way to communicate an image. And that they're able to see, like, oh, I'm being brought forth from this cave, from a shaman before me, and this is my divine right.
Yeah, it's his claim to his divine right, his divine power, to be in his position. Now, we see altars that are made from Olmec heads, but we have never found a head that's made from an altar. So what I'm saying here is the only people, I'm trying to think of the way I can word this. When you go throughout the Olmec world, you will notice that there are no were-jaguar monuments that were ever turned into an Olmec head. Only heads that were turned into were-jaguar monuments. And almost on every single head, on the top of it, where the crest of the helmet was, which is usually the symbol of the king's name, you find these claw marks that are going into it. Okay. Christos, stay on this. Yeah, click on the one you're looking at right now. And then can you zoom into the top of the head? It's going to be real. You may have to find a super high resolution, but the crest of his helmet says 3 Ahau. You have these 3 claws that are coming down, so it's 3, and the top symbol is Ahau. It means 3 king. At least that's what we think, because that same symbol later on in the Maya world would mean 3 Ahau, so we think that it's probably the same thing. Not this guy. It's not every single time, but let's keep going through the heads and see if we can find. Yeah, so that's a were-jaguar. Okay. So bottom left. So not that one to the right. And then zoom in at the resolution's not good enough. But if you zoom into the top of the head, and it's got to be higher. But okay, so on the top of his head, there are these claw marks. They're deep cutting claw marks. Yeah, we're not going to be able to see it. You can just barely see the claw marks. But man, if I were to take you through the Olmec world, it's even higher than that. It's like on the very top of his head. So there are claw marks there that are probably like a foot long, and it's these deep claw marks. And when you go and look at them, there are 4 or 5 of them, and you can put your hand inside of it. So it's like a clawed hand scratched through the Olmec monuments. And on the back sides of a lot of the heads, you'll see them just completely torn apart. And I've looked at this and looked at this and looked at this, and I realized that these claw marks never show up on the were-jaguar monuments. They only show up on the heads. So it's like the priestly class is more in control of Olmec civilization than the kings are, because the priestly were-jaguar class is going back and defacing the Olmec heads. The were-jaguar monuments are never, ever defaced. And there's one head, you'd never be able to find a photo of it on the internet, because so much of the Olmec world is just not not thoroughly documented. But there is one head, the entire face is clawed off. Like I'm talking about, the entire face is mangled. You can't even see the face anymore. Like you can see the jaw and the cheekbones, but the entire face is mangled. And so I'm thinking that this is clear evidence to me that the king class and the priestly class were at feud with each other, just like in ancient Egypt. Yeah.
Wow.
So the more you look at it, you get this big picture that, okay, so there's this, it's almost like a race of were-jaguar people that they're not seeing this as deformity. This is because it has no mental, effect. It's only a physical effect. That this is actually a positive attribute that gives you this divine right to have this power. And so they're breeding them, and they're purposely engineering more people to be bred like this, and probably eventually it outweighs the dynastic family. Like, the king and his family can only get so big when you have multiple families of were-jaguars that are constantly breeding. And yeah, so I think that I'm, I think that I'm on to like documenting something that hasn't really been like officially acknowledged as this feud between the priest class and the Olmec kings.
I mean, not to mention, I imagine that like with any type of like dynasty, there's a succession problem that happens, right? Like there's a king that has only daughters, or there's a king that, gets overthrown, and then there's a new regime that comes in, and they need some type of right to rule the people. And whereas the priestly class, because it has almost a divine lineage, I don't know if it's as susceptible. And you correct me if I'm wrong, like with Egypt, for example, like with Akhenaten, there was basically a regime change, and he needed to hearken on the old gods to basically give him credibility. So he created, moved the capital, and I forget the exact, what was the god? Aten. And he basically creates like a sun disk, and like he's like, okay,
It had existed, but it was not a very popular god.
But he was like, I am of Akhenaten, and like I am of the godly lineage.
Yeah.
And so as he takes over and tries to ameliorate the secession problem, he harkens back to the religious element to basically justify to his people, like, hey, I actually am the rightful ruler. Don't care about the regime, don't care about the coup, none of that. I like politics aside, I am of God, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, well, he was this is very interesting because I had a very negative view of Akhenaten for a long time, because he's kind of ghastly looking. Like he's kind of, all of his monuments make him out to be very scary looking, and then the art of the Amarna period is very odd. Like he's just an unsettling figure to look at.
And his son is Tut, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. As far as we know, his son actually is Tut, not like biologically actually is his son, I think, as far as we know.
From like his second marriage, because he's married to Nefertiti. Yes.
And so I think that Tut is, we think that Tut is his son, but not Nefertiti's son, right?
Right.
Yeah. Anyways, so I had a pretty negative view of Akhenaten for a long time, just because of the visuals. Like I just don't like the Amarna period art at all. I think that the Old Kingdom art is the best, and Middle Kingdom is really nice too. It's just elegant, just looks amazing. Now, what I think was actually happening here is we see the feud beginning between the priestly class. I know we just jumped over to Egypt, but it's fascinating still.
Well, I think it's a helpful parallel.
Sure. We see the feud really getting significant between the priestly class and Akhenaten's father, Amenhotep III. And I thought a lot about like the psychology of like where Akhenaten is coming from and why he took such drastic measures. And this is my guess. The ancient Egyptians were well aware of the periods before. Like, there are these intermediate periods where we don't really have a great grasp of everything that was going on, like where you have 70 kings in 70 days, just a lot was going on. But it doesn't mean that the Egyptians were ignorant of everything that had happened before. And they knew how the government used to be run once upon a time. Like there used to not be a high priestly class. Let's say during the time of the reign of Ra. So, you have Khufu, Khafra, Menkaura. Menkaura means in the essence of Ra. So This is actually very fascinating, and I don't think it's a bad argument. The reason that the burial chambers of the Great Pyramids, an argument I've seen put out there, the reason that the burial chambers are above ground, it's like the only time in all of Egyptian history, if we're going to call these tombs, where the burial chamber is not going in either straight into the ground vertically or diagonally, and it's going up, is because the greatest kings of so the Egyptians during the first intermediate period and the second intermediate period, they would have these phrases like, "Oh, I long for the golden age of Senefru," which was Khufu's father, who we call the first great pyramid builder. They would say how they longed for the days of Senefru. So that lineage, Senefru, Khufu, Khafra, Menkaura, that was the kingdom of the sun god. These were all pharaohs of the sun god Ra. Ra is also a disk, like a sun disk. That was always looked on as the greatest period of Egypt, leading up to the 18th dynasty, of which Akhenaten is the second to last pharaoh of.